Episode 3, a different setting, a more comfortable setting. As you guys can see, I'm chilling, lounging. We got different cars in the background. Last, we left off at Pita Kitchen. We talked about how the name came about, how the name started with me and Ash sitting there having lunch. Once we had basically decided the name for the company, we moved on to trying to decide on what products we were gonna make. We took the Mini back to the shop and we started taking it apart. One of the main things that we noticed, as you guys saw us talk about it in the last video, is the intercooler system. So I wanted to make something where we can integrate the intercooler into the manifold, shortening up the passage for the boost to get into the head, and also make something where we could drop, intake temperatures. So the first piece that you guys see in the intake on the Mini was actually all made out of wood, and then we will send off to the foundry to get casted. We used to buy all the intercooler cores, the little cores we had made by Turbonetics back in the day. We started welding those things together. We made some pulleys, exhausts. We made a header for that car. And then we went off to designing, obviously, rods, pistons, and so on. We started doing those products while we were still working out of RMS and Osh was still involved. At that time, Danny and Serge were with me while Danny and Serge were there, and we had started all of that stuff. You guys have seen Steve-O in a couple of our episodes, probably. Steve-O joined us. That's when we started getting into playing with CNC machines. We bought our first CNC machine over there. Steve-O was just like learning how to program a CNC machine. We're all really young, man. We're kids, It was Steve-O, which has been with me for, wow, I could say like 20 plus years right now. So 25 years. Steve-O still works with us. As you guys see, he still machines stuff, and Steve-O will be moving into our existing building and we'll take care of the whole machine shop side. So we will have Machino Prime and Gintani machine shop over there in the new building. And as we were progressing and we had ideas, we would go up to Osh and we would tell him, hey, we want to do this way and we want to do this way. And he would tell us, hey, listen, you leave the hardware up to me. You guys are you're too young to basically make these decisions. You don't know what I'm talking about. Let me do it the way I'm doing it. And we started to clashing heads because I had ideas. I had basically grown out of the way he wanted to do stuff. I had more passion for this and I wanted to do it the way I wanted to do it. I basically turned around and told Danny and Serge and Steve-O that I'm ready to leave. Even though it's going to be hard, we won't have a CNC machine. We might lose some of the stuff. So I was like, you know what? We take our losses, we cut our losses, we move on. And we start from zero. I told everybody, like, this is your decision. It's your life. You got to decide if you want to come with me or if you want to do your own thing. We had a long conversation and we ended up, me, Steve-O, and Serge splitting. Danny decided he wanted to go his own way and start a service shop. So he moved on, as you guys saw in the last episode. We drove by Danny's first shop where he had that one lift and he used to service cars out of that one lift. He's moved on. He's built a great business for himself. That's Danny's 996 Carrera. This guy tracks everything. There's no car that he doesn't track. This is his 991.2 GT3 that he tracks a living out of. You guys should go and follow his Instagram page, Mini Corsa, and look at the lap times this guy puts down. It's unbelievable to think that this guy is wearing shorts and a t-shirt in this car with no safety gear and going as fast as he's going. He's a complete lunatic. That's why I asked you.
Hi, everybody.
Oh, oh look. That's the OG. Now it's just a freaking chair. This idiot over here behind me.
Hello.
Cut this car up for no reason.
No, there was a very valid reason.
What was about?
I didn't want anybody else driving the car.
Yeah,
my car.
Yeah, he didn't want anybody else driving the car because it was his car. So he decided to take the poor car that had nothing wrong with it, and he was tracking out of, and do this. Right here is that car. What the fuck? We've sat in the trunk of this car a few times too when it was running back in the day. I don't get it, man.
Oh, there's the rest of it.
And there's the rest of it. That's the front clip. This is hilarious because me and Danny bought these cars around the same time. I bought mine, and then Danny bought his right after. So these are all his cars, bro. His E90. That's the GT3, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the car you should have never sold.
Yeah.
We'll keep reminding him of that.
Guess what I sold it for?
Yeah. 60 grand?
No.
How much?
Price?
Yeah.
Forget the price. What car I sold it for?
What car you sold?
M4.
Oh my god, what a...
Yeah.
This guy sold a 996 GT3 that had everything done. It was a sick car. Guards red. You can't get anything better than that. For that, right there.
Yeah.
Who the hell sells that for this? It's supposed to be the other way around, bro. You go from BMW to Porsche, not from Porsche back to BMW.
You live and learn.
Yeah. I guess the best thing we ever did with Danny was to leave RMS and
As much as we love Osh.
yeah, we love you, Osh, but yeah, Osh taught us a lot. We're not gonna take that away from him ever. I mean, if it wasn't for Osh, we wouldn't know a lot of the stuff that we know today. So we respect that and we take that with us every single day. You guys see that he's ventured into doing a bunch of Porsche stuff. He's constantly at the track. So if you guys need any track support or any recommendations on how you want to drive your car, sit in the car with this guy and we'll make your balls go into your... We've done a lot of crazy stuff. Yeah,
This guy's back then.
this guy back then,
Almost 20 years
his
ago.
hair used to be like this. We'd go out to clubs and stuff. Like everybody think he was Serge from System of a Down.
I'm getting it again now.
Yeah, you'd get tables. We'd get tables. We'd have chicks walking up to us asking to take pictures with him, and I'd sit there and lie and say I'm his manager. It worked. It was a lot of fun. Good old days. Like what we going? Nothing changes, bro. We might be 40, but we're still doing the same. Me, Serge, and Steve-O decided to get a small place because that's all we could afford. We went to Canoga Park and we found the place, 1,500 square feet. Landlords was Matt West Company. I'll never forget that name, and I'll tell you guys why. We actually didn't have too much, paperwork to back us up, so we needed to have a co-signer. I asked my dad to co-sign for us. He co-signed on the lease, and we basically moved into this little 1,500 square foot shop on Alabama Street in Canoga Park, and we started our venture as being Gintani alone, no Osh, no RMS, none of his history, just start our own history. Alabama was a great place. That's when we started still doing Mini Cooper stuff, and then I decided, you know what, this whole Mini Cooper thing is not gonna fly. There isn't enough business out there to just concentrate on a Mini Cooper. A lot of people are obviously complaining about pricing and so on. Back then I was telling you guys that intercooler setup was like $2,800 from what I remember, and people were complaining that it was too expensive. So it was getting hard to, sell stuff for the Minis. And I've always loved BMWs all my life, and I've always wanted to do BMW stuff, but we never did because we're, a part of RMS and Osh back then. We didn't want to mix it up. We decided, you know what, forget it. I'm gonna take apart my 846 M3. We're gonna take apart my buddy's E36 M3, and we're gonna start making supercharger kits for these cars. And we're gonna start doing tuning. So back then I wasn't tuning, but we needed somebody that was, in the business of doing factory ECU stuff. The first J that came into my life, his name was Jesse, and he used to work for Power Gym. I knew Jesse for a few years, I could say 3 years before we got into this shop, and we used to work on and off, and he used to do some stuff for me through Power Chip. He convinced me that he should come and join Gintani, and he should become our tuner. In the beginning, we were doing pretty good. We're selling a lot of tunes. We had a lot of customers come in. He had a good customer base, so we were doing a lot of tuning in and out, selling quick off-the-shelf tunes and stuff like that. Everything was going good, and everybody's all happy, and then obviously Jesse comes in. We're selling a bunch of stuff. We have a guy that works next door to us. He does tints and stuff like that. His name is Osni, cool little guy. He would bring people over and we would tune some cars, and Osni had one main client that had a pretty bad Ferrari F430 Spider. His name was Corey Dillon. He was a professional NFL player, and Corey started bringing some of his cars to us. So we tuned Corey's Bentley, we tuned a couple other cars for Corey. We started working on the Ferrari, and we decided we're gonna twin turbo the Ferrari F430. Before we started, I asked Jesse, I'm like, listen, I can make the hardware, man. Are you sure we're gonna be able to do the software for this car? Like, it's not a joke, I don't wanna take this on and then get screwed at the end. And we get into this, we get the Ferrari in, and as we're planning on how to build the Ferrari and so on, Corey had retired from the NFL. He had really nothing to do. And he was like, man, I wanna get into this business. He starts talking to me and Jesse about partnering up and doing this and doing that. And then I go home and I'm talking to my brother and my dad, and they're like, you know what, man, you already made a mistake bringing one guy in. Don't make another mistake trying to bring somebody else in just for, money and try to make you guys, grow, and all the stuff that you guys are gonna do. It's gonna turn into a disaster. Obviously, I was really young and extremely excited, to think that we were gonna have somebody like Corey with the attention that he gets, just the limelight of being a football player, and him being able to promote us as a shop, and obviously being able to get out of this 1,500 square foot building and get a different building and get CNC machines again. And wow, dude, like I got my ticket out. Like there's a way to do it. You know, I didn't want to borrow any more money from my dad. I didn't want to ask people for anything. I had built a brand. It was starting to grow, and I had a guy who wanted to invest. Jesse convinced Corey to do it, and he convinced me to do it, and Corey Dillon became a partner. And once Corey Dillon became a partner, stuff started moving real quick. Corey invested $500,000 at that time. Once that money was invested, it was game on, dude. Jesse wanted to get a big place, buy a dyno, buy CNC machines, buy this, buy that, and man, it happened so quick. I can't even explain to you guys. Like, we went across the street, the Matt West company, which was right across, their office was right across the street from us, and we're like, we need a bigger place. Instantly, they showed us this place in Van Nuys, which is right down the street from where we are right now on Bessemer Street, which if you guys watch our old Instagram stuff and YouTube videos, you see us do polls in front of that shop nonstop with the BMWs. So we went to Mount West, and they signed a lease on this place for us like instantly. They were so happy because our rent went from $3,500 or $2,800 a month to $11,800 a month. Overnight, we went from 1,500 square feet to 11,500 square feet, which was a big mistake. It was completely empty. It was just an empty warehouse with one bathroom. I mean, you need a showroom, you need offices, you need this, you need that. So instantly we started building offices, showroom. We ordered a Dyno Dynamics dyno back then, which we paid $110,000 for. Then we bought a Milltronics CNC machine, a 3-axis mill, which back then I think we paid like $80-something thousand for that. Brand new lifts, air compressor, all the construction, redoing everything, buying new tools, racks, toolboxes. I mean, we were going through this money like it was nothing. I mean, it was starting to just decrease and decrease and decrease, and I was like, man, this is moving too fast. We never even got to a point where we finished furnishing those offices before we already started having problems.
This is our old shop. This is the place that we used to pay $11,500 a month for. It was 11,000 square feet. You guys see they cut a hole to the other side. Obviously the wall that was originally there is where our shop used to end. Yeah, so this street was our test street. We used to freaking fly up and down from here like crazy. The cool part about this place was there was no houses or apartments or anything real close by, so we would work till like 2, 3, 4 in the morning here. And it was awesome because we would stay here and we'd do dynos until 2, 3 in the morning, and all the police officers from Van Nuys PD down here would come and hang out with us at like 3 in the morning, and they would come and watch all the cars.
We had a few builds going on, and at this point, Steve-O was up and running on the CNC machine, so we were building intercoolers and stuff like that for different platforms, and we were trying to sell all that stuff, and at the same time, we were building Corey's F430. Back then, you know, it took a lot of time to build that stuff. It was our first time doing a twin turbo kit on a Ferrari, and I was very meticulous on how I wanted everything, and I wanted everything to be perfect, so we CNC machined the full intercoolers. Everything was made out of billet. Back then, we didn't have a fabricator, so the hot side, the exhaust side piping and everything we had sent out to my buddies, Danny and Tony from Fast Intentions in Simi Valley, which are my friends, and we still, you know, do work together till this day, even though we fabricate everything in-house now. And as this whole process was going on, we're really running low on funds, man. And it was getting pretty bad. We weren't really bringing any money in to, you know, grow on top of what Corey had given us. He was getting frustrated because he was like, dude, where's this going? When are we gonna start making money out of this place? It's been, you know, a year or whatever that we're in here. We spent all this money to build this place. We basically brought in my dad, my brother, me, Corey came in, and a couple of the guys that were working with me then, and we sat down. Even Jesse was there, and we're basically like, man, if we're gonna keep making this work, we're gonna need some more funding to be able to do this. And Corey was like, dude, I'm done. I'm not giving any more money. And obviously Jesse had nothing. He had nothing to give. He hadn't invested a penny into this business. He hadn't put a dollar into any of this. So he basically became a partner for free. So I had a little bit of money on the side. I had decided that I would put more money into the business and try to see where it was going. Corey was like, dude, I'm out. I want out of this thing. The only people Corey could actually really go after to get any of his money would be me, my father, and my brother. At that point, Jesse decided to disappear. Dude, we couldn't find this guy for like months. And when he disappeared, he had access to the accounts. The next day that he was gone, he didn't show up, like 2 days, 3 days, we started seeing like money missing out of the account. This getting pulled, that getting pulled, and all this stuff. And we started going through all the account history, and we're seeing like so many payments for ridiculous stuff, like his own car, his house, whatever, all this stuff. He was basically trying to convince Corey that I had taken all the money and I had used it for stuff for my own, which was complete bullshit. And Corey had it. He was pissed off. We got into a pretty nasty fight. He was like, I'm gonna sue you guys. And we're like, all right, cool, no problem. I mean, what can I do? This guy took all the money. He freaking ran off. He's trying to convince you that I'm the one who did this. You know, I'm still here every single day, trying to work, trying to make money, trying to, you know, finish your car, trying to do this, try to do that. Meanwhile, by the way, guys, Jesse had no idea how to tune the F430, just to let you guys know about that. We got into a lawsuit, and till this day, people bring up that lawsuit. They're like, oh, Gintani's been in a lawsuit before. It's like, bro, everybody's been in a lawsuit. So when Corey sued us, he wanted to sue us for everything. Every penny that he put into the company, the money that he had invested to get the parts for the Ferrari, and also take the car to a Ferrari dealer to put it all back to stock. Meanwhile, we could have put that car back to stock in the matter of like 2 days, but he didn't want us to touch it, which I completely understand. At that point, the guy was fuming, and he didn't want anything to do with us. So he got the car towed out, and he sent it to a Ferrari dealer, and then the Ferrari dealer sent us a ridiculous bill, which was, I think back then, like $58,000 or something like that, $60,000 to put the car back to stock. Meanwhile, every single part was there. They just had to put like intake boxes and exhaust and whatever. They added all this crap on there. Whatever, that got tacked into the lawsuit. And somehow this guy, Corey, drags my dad and my brother's name into it, which have nothing to do with the company, and my name, because he knows if we're the only people he's going to be able to go after to get money. You know what I mean? He's not going to be able to get money from Jesse. So we basically go to mediation, and, you know, we went maybe a few times. Just so everybody knows, and this is clear, this lawsuit never went to trial, guys. It was settled. Basically what we agreed to, which was the right thing to do, basically pay Corey back for everything he invested, because the guy just went into the business blindly. He didn't know this was going to happen. He supported us. He gave us money. That money was his. A lot of the money was spent on, you know, the dyno machine, the CNC machine, and a bunch of other stuff we did in the shop. So there was stuff that was, you know, valuable that we would still keep, and we paid him back $550,000. We did that, and we made him sign paperwork saying that basically he has no shares or no anything in Gintani. At that point, Jesse was automatically freaking kicked out because the guy basically ran away with money, which we proved all of this in our meetings with Corey. So Corey saw exactly what happened with all the money. Gintani was again signed all over to me. So it was only my company. We basically made the agreement with Corey. Corey has been paid in full. We don't owe Corey a penny. Yeah, this is right when the crash happened, man. This is like 06. Nobody's spending money. You know, we're in a lawsuit. We got to pay this guy $550,000. This guy, Jesse, has ran off with all this money. We're in an 11,500 square foot building with like $12,000 rent. No work coming in. 5 employees. Really dark time in my life. You know, I went from splitting from Osh, doing our own thing, which I should have listened to my dad. I should listen to my brother, and I'll say this over and over again because I made another mistake after this, which we'll get into, and they told me not to do that one too, but I was just young, naive, stupid, and I wish I never did any of this, because if I hadn't done any of this, all that money that we basically spent to pay Corey back or to pay the lease on this 11,000 square foot shop that we didn't need, none of that would have happened. We would have grown slower. It would have taken more time, but honestly, at the end of the day, it would probably have been a million times better. Now back onto making supercharger kits for the V10 BMW platform and the V8 BMW platform. I had one of the first cars that actually came to Los Angeles. I bought from Center BMW one of the first V8 M3s. We took it all apart. We had Danny and Tony, again, we still didn't have a fabricator back then. We had Danny and Tony build the X-pipe and the rear section for this car. Till today, we sell those, you know, not a lot. And till today, I've never pulled those fixtures out of Fast Intentions. So we have a huge fabrication team now. We do all our fabrication in-house. Until this day, those jigs, those fixtures, stay at Danny's and Tony's. And we put the order through them. We go pick it up from them, and that's how it gets sold. I don't believe in ever taking anything away from anybody. That's something they had done. It will always stay with them. I'll never stop that relationship. So again, we didn't have a tuner. We had met a guy named Jeremy. J2. I meet this guy named Jeremy through a few mutual friends. He used to work for Power Chip too. That's the funniest thing in the world. So this guy works for Power Chip. He's here from Australia. He comes by the shop and we start tuning some cars together. Obviously at this point, my shop back then was like one of the only shops that had a all-wheel drive dyno and this and that. So any tuner's dream to have a shop like that to be able to sell stuff, right? So yeah, at this point, I really didn't know how to tune. I was trying to learn. I was trying to learn how to use the editors and, you know, WinOS, and tried to buy the Dim Sport stuff, try to use their stuff. So Jeremy rolls in. We were doing pretty good. We were basically one of the first ones to have a supercharger kit on the V8 M3 and the V10 M5. So we finished the kit. We complete all the hardware. We're ready to start this car. And we're okay. We could start it on factory software. So we started up, you know, car starts. We got the manifold. Back then, the manifold looked like a little pancake. You know what I mean? It was our first intake manifold we had made or whatever. It worked. We start the car, everything's running. And then Jeremy's like, all right, I could tune this thing. So we start having this guy play with it when we're tuning it. It's okay. And it's working okay. And I'm like, man, you know how to do this? He goes, yeah, I know how to do this. I got it. I'm like, okay, cool, you know. He starts tuning these cars, and back then we're on like low boost, so we're not really pushing this thing. So everything seems to be good. Everything's fine. We get in this car. We drive all the way to Vegas to M-Fest. We're basically one of the first ones to ever have a supercharger kit on this car. VF Engineering is there with theirs. So we were the first, me and VF. Nick at VF, and VF had to tow their car there, so the car wasn't running. They would be able to start it up and rev it up and whatever, but they wouldn't be able to drive it. And we're showing up to the show late. We're running late, you know. So we drive this car from LA to Vegas, and we get to M-Fest and we roll up, and everybody's around, like, you know, checking out the VF kit, and they're all excited. And we roll up in a red, Marlboro red M3, you know, slammed on wheels. And I roll in there in the parking lot and I just start revving this thing like crazy. You get to hear all the blow-off valve noises going off, and people are like, what the hell? You know, they actually see a running car, and they just literally flocked. Everybody flocked over to this car. That was our first show that we did, M-Fest, and it was huge for us. So we continued making these M3 kits and the M5 kits. Little did I know that, I guess Jeremy somehow had made like we call it a salad, a copy-paste file from like 10 different companies put all together to make these cars run. And there was stuff that was obviously wrong, and we were having some issues, but trying to work through it. But we're doing really, really good with the M3 market. We're probably the M3 and the M5 market. We're the top. When we first started, we were selling more kits than ESS. We were selling more kits than VF. We were selling more kits than Active. Like, we were the guys. So this is in 2008, I think. We did the Euro Tuner shootout. They used to have this back in the day. That was actually my E90 M3, which used to be Brian's E90 M3 back then, my old tech. And that had our stage 2 kit on there. You guys could see it's got the flat manifold. That was when we were CNC machining them before we started the bulge casting and all that stuff. That's the OG kit, basically. The only guys that beat us back then were the 034 guys in this crazy S4 they had. Our horsepower, we were second place. The track times and everything, we ended up being second place. I'm like a young little kid over here. Got no facial hair. Got a little mustache thing going. I look like a porn star. And then over here, this is the dyno competition. Back then, see, 034, they made 908 wheel on that S4 back then. That thing was crazy. We're second place. We made 592 wheel. And we basically came in second place for everything. This was at Button Willow back in the day. Missed that car. We had given it to NJ, and then he sold it. So we gotta beat NJ up. That's another one. The BBS CHs, the flat top manifold, 6-speed manual, no DCT.
That's Paul Walker's car right there. That's when we raced Time Attack for a few years with Paul. We still have that car. I told you guys we're going to be shooting a whole build series on that. And then that's Josh's car. Josh used to be pretty famous on the forums back in the day. His name was Tidy, I think. Now he runs Speed District. He doesn't have a BMW anymore. Now he drives Porsches. He's too cool for us. I shouldn't be talking. This is one of the first built motor cars that we did. Big YSI blower. You can see it here. We had to trim the outside casing for the YSI to actually fit in the car because it was so big. This car put down, I think, 780 wheel horsepower back then. And we had one guy, his name is Drew Johnson. Drew, I'll never forget you. Drew had a E92 M3. He was pretty big on the forums. He reached out to us and he was like, I want to put a supercharger kit on my car. You know, I don't want to spend the money for it, whatever, this and that, obviously, what everybody asks for. Would you do a sponsorship? So we start looking into this guy and we're like, oh, this guy, you know, got a big following. We basically make a deal with Drew. We give him a supercharger kit for $2,500. Basically, the guy just paid for the head unit, the blower. Everything else was on us. Drew goes out there and he's killing it, dude. He's setting all the records, 60 to 130, all the, you know, half mile, whatever records back then. His car was ridiculously fast, stock motor. It was really good for us because he was like our mascot on the forums. One day we get a phone call from Drew and he's like, hey man, I'm stuck in the middle of the street. I'm like, all right, cool, what happened? He goes, I don't know, there's oil everywhere. And I'm like, oh, shit. So he tows the car in. We put the car up on the lift and I get underneath the car. It's all covered in oil everywhere. And like the wheels, everything is covered in oil. This whole thing is drenched. So we pulled the bottom pan off, the metal pan. And as we're pulling it off, just stuff is just falling on the floor, man. And I see like a rod cap on the floor and a bolt and a piece of a piston. And I'm like, oh my God, we're so right now. We open this thing and there's just like a big old hole in the block and you can see Adele on the other side, you know, just looking in at us. And we're like, bro, we're so screwed. I called Drew and I'm like, bro, we got a hole in the block. And he's like, what, this and that, what the hell, what are we gonna do, whatever. And back then the M3 engine was so new, like we didn't really know the problems that these motors had, you know. So we're like, bro, we'll take care of it, you know, let's just give us some time. We're gonna pull the motor out, let's figure out what's going on. We start inspecting it, you know, and going through it, and we look at the oil pump and we realize that, you know, it's got a lot of areas where it can create air pockets in the oil pump to deliver oil to the rod bearings and the main bearings. And then we started looking into the tolerances of the rod bearings and they were so tight. And we were looking at the rest of the rod bearings, which the rod hadn't broke on, and we could see that the bearing wear on this thing was ridiculous, you know, with the fact of how new the car was. This has nothing to do with the supercharger kit. Like, we're looking at the pistons, everything's clean, no detonation, everything is beautiful, nothing wrong. So we're like trying to figure out, dude, what the hell happened to this thing? It didn't detonate itself to death, you know, and nothing like that happened. You know, it's something else. It's got to be, you know, a factory issue. We called Drew. We tell him, hey, listen, man, it happened. We're going to buy you a motor. Back then, motors for these cars were like $45,000. We buy Drew a motor. The motor comes. We put the motor in. We put the supercharger kit back in. We put everything back in, get the car back on the dyno, make sure everything is good. I basically called Drew and I tell him, hey, listen, you know, everything's good. You can come pick up the car. You know, we can't guarantee this whole rod bearing failure thing because we got to look more into this and see, you know, what's causing this. You know what I mean? But we took care of your car. Everything's back. You don't owe us any money on the house. So give Drew the car back and we move on. A couple weeks goes by and we don't hear from Drew. I'm trying to reach out to him and this guy won't answer back. And all of a sudden I hear from somebody that he's going to move on. And the whole time we were working on a car and putting a new motor in it for him, he was talking to ESS. And I guess he had this whole thing planned with ESS and they sent him a blower for his car. And that's when everything went freaking downhill for us for the whole BMW market. He made a agreement with ESS, and with that agreement came the fact that he would claim that ESS's stuff was better than ours. We lost a lot of sales. ESS started selling a lot more supercharger kits than we were. They actually became the first #1 provider for supercharger kits for the V8 market. That hurt us so bad, man. We basically hit like a plateau. Like we're done. We weren't selling. Our lease was coming up in this 11,000 square foot building. Now I had the second J in my life, Jeremy. He wanted to basically partner up and start a tuning company aside of Gintani. Also at that time, I went through a really dark part of my life. I lost my best friend. It was just horrible, man. We needed to freaking basically figure out what we were gonna do with the rent. This is in like 2008.
I basically called Matt West and I was like, hey, you know, economy's really bad. I need you guys to help me out with the lease so we could stay here. We put over $150,000 into your building, you know, revamping it and doing all this. And they're like, oh, let's see what we could do for you. They call me back and they're like, we'll give you 30 cents off. And I was like, what? 30 cents off? Man, you could go yourself, you know what I mean? I call my dad and I'm like, man, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. You have any advice? Like, what should we do? These guys are only giving us 30 cents off. Like, I need to move. Jeremy wants to start this whole thing. I think we could do good with this, you know, tuning company aside of Gintani, make some good money with tuning and whatever, this and that. And he's like, I don't think you guys should stay there. You got to start looking for a new place. So either you close this place, you move out of there, you don't move into a new place, you just shut the stuff down and you call it the end and you walk away and you come to downtown and work with me. And I'm like, dude, no, I'm not doing that. I mean, I'm going to make this work. I don't care how bad we got hurt. I'll never forget that day I literally sat in the car and I'm driving down Oxnard and I'm like, oh my God, look. There was always this building on Oxnard and it was the only building that had a showroom in the front. And it was called American Muscle. It was a Corvette shop. And I loved that building because it was the only building that had a nice big property. It only had one building on it back then. It had a showroom in the front. And these guys wouldn't even use the showroom. And I used to get so pissed off. Like the showroom used to be like plexiglass windows and they were so old. They had all like deteriorated and you can't even see through it and stuff. And I was like, man, these guys have like the best building on the street and they don't even use the showroom and this and that. And I love that building. So I'm driving by and I look and I'm like, oh, it says for sale or for lease. I call my dad. I'm like, hey, Dad, remember there's that building I always tell you about? It's a good property. One day, like, I would love to own it, this and that, whatever. He goes, yeah. You know, I'm like, it says it's for lease or for sale. He's like, all right, call, check what happens. I call this guy. I'm like, parked in front of the building. I call, and I'll never forget, man. This guy picks up the phone. He's like, John Paley. And I'm like, hey, John, how you doing? He's like, I'm good. How are you? I'm like, I'm good. You know, my name is Alex. I just noticed, you know, the building on 14212 Oxnard Street. You know, that building's always been a dream for me. I've always wanted to, you know, be in that building. I see it says either for lease or for sale. And he's like, oh, yeah, that building. It's a great building. I'm like, yeah. I go, so what's the lease on it? He goes, well, yeah, my guys put the wrong sign up there. So it's not for lease. It's only for sale. And I'm like, you know, like, how the hell am I going to buy this building? Like, there's no way. So I'm like, oh, okay. What are they asking for it? Just out of curiosity. So back then, I think they were asking like 1.250 or something like that. Man, I got no business in this. Like, what am I even talking to this guy? But I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to bolt myself into this and see what happens. So I go, yeah, 1.2 is a little too much. It's out of my budget. You know, I'm a young guy. I have some money saved up. You know, I could probably open escrow pretty quick and get this deal going, but I'm just both like, I got nothing. You know, I got some money put away on the side, but I can't afford a $1.2 million building. I'm like, forget it. Let's make some stupid offer and see what happens, you know? I go, how about we do $950,000 and, you know, we could go into escrow tomorrow. I haven't talked to anybody. I haven't talked to my dad about it. I haven't talked to my brother about it. I haven't told them anything. I just told my dad, like, this building is available, whatever. He's like, yeah, son, I don't think 950 is going to cut it. But he goes, I'll take it to my clients and see what they say. I'm like, okay, cool. Please let me know soon. He goes, I'm going to give him a call right now. So I literally drive down the street to 7-Eleven, pull up into 7-Eleven. I'm in the car. I call my dad. I'm like, Dad. So I talk to him. It's not for lease. He's like, okay. I'm like, it's for sale. He goes, oh, okay, cool. You know, like, how much do they want for it? I'm like, I think they want like 1.2 million. I go, but I did something. He's like, what did you do? I said, I offered him $950,000. And he goes, who the hell is going to give you a building that's listed for $1.2 million for $950,000? He goes, are you dreaming? He goes, if somebody gives you that building for $950,000, he goes, today we'll figure out a way to buy it. All right, okay. You know, this guy's not going to call me and, you know, accept this anyway. So I was like, okay, whatever. I'll let you know what happens. I go inside, grab my Red Bull, grab my pack of Parliaments. I walk outside. I'll never forget, man. I get my hair like stands up when I talk about this. I literally walk outside, man. I put my ass on the fender of the front of the M3 and I'm just sitting there. I open my pack. I pop my can of Red Bull open, take a swig out of my Red Bull, my phone rings. I'm like looking, I'm like, oh, it's this John Paley guy, you know? And I pick up the phone and I'm like, hello? And he goes, hey, this is John Paley. I'm like, hey, how you doing, sir? He goes, I'm doing good. He goes, how you doing? I'm like, I'm doing good. He goes, let me ask you a question, kid. And I'm like, what? He goes, are you anywhere close to a liquor store or something you could walk into and you could buy a lottery? And I'm like, yeah, I'm actually standing right in front of 7-Eleven. He goes, why don't you walk in there, kid, and buy yourself a lotto ticket? Because today's your lucky day. He goes, this building was left in a trust to an 18-year-old and a 19-year-old. And I just gave them your offer, and they accepted it. And I'm like, what? Are you kidding me right now? They accepted my offer. He goes, yep, they took the offer. They want to get rid of the building as soon as possible. They want the money. And I was like, what am I going to do, dude? Like, where the hell are we going to figure this out? So I call my dad, and I'm like, Dad, they accepted my offer. And he's like, dude, get the hell out of here. Like, there's no way they took your offer. I'm like, dude, they accepted my offer. Like, what am I supposed to tell this guy? I don't have, that money or whatever to put down for this thing. And, I have something, but, my brother might have some money together. We could put our money together. I don't know what we're going to do. He goes, there's no way somebody's giving you this building for $950. I go, listen, the guy's name is John Paley, okay? Here's his phone number. Call him and talk to him, and you'll see I'm not bull. This guy's going to give us the building for $950,000. So he's like, okay, let me call him. I'll call you back. So my dad calls John, and John's like, yeah, your son just made the deal on this building, and, they accepted the offer. So my dad calls, and he's like, what the hell did you do? And he's like, damn, now we got to figure out how to get it down for this thing. That's how we solved our Bessemer and how we got out of that 11,000 square foot building. Me and my brother had saved up some money. He basically put in all the money that he had saved up. I put in all the money that I had. And then obviously my dad helped us, and we figured out how to open escrow on that thing. And we bought the building on 14212 Oxnard Street, which is Gintani Highway today.
So we're at the 7-Eleven that I was telling you guys about when I got the phone call from John Paley. And he told me that I basically won the bid on the shop. Let's go inside and grab a Red Bull real quick. We're gonna grab a Red Bull, but one thing we're not gonna grab is Parliaments, because I haven't for over 4 years now. So there's a guy over here, he was our homie back in the day. His name was Kuldeep. We used to get these spicy hot dogs from here all the time. We don't eat those spicy hot dogs anymore, but Red Bull. This one's actually pretty good. I usually don't drink stuff like this. I'm drinking it just because of you guys. Crack that Red Bull. Left here in an E92 M3 last time. We're leaving in an 812 this time.
It was unbelievable how that even happened. I don't even know how we got that building for that much, but it happened. Thank God. It was like one of the best investments I ever made. It was the best choice I ever made. It was the best phone call I ever made. You know what I mean? No matter what you're born into, you know what I mean? If your family is more capable than other families, at the end of the day, if it's a dream that you're trying to achieve, a dream that you're trying to go after, you got to follow your dream. Ain't nobody else going to do it for you. I mean, I went through a lot, man. People say we're lucky and we've had it easy and whatever. None of that exists. Okay. Everybody could have everything in the world one day, the next day it's gone. We watched my dad go through that for years. From being up to down, you never know what could happen. Money's here one day, the next day it's gone. So if you got to follow your dream, it's all up to you to do it. And it doesn't matter how strong, how hard it is, how much stuff you go through. If you don't put your head up, wake up every morning and say, I'm going to win, you'll never be able to do what you're doing. It's crazy because right now we're emptying this place, and we're in the middle of moving to the new shop. So it's kind of crazy watching this place getting emptied out and gonna be turning into a machine shop, and I probably will spend hardly any time here. I'll only come here and there when we're developing stuff in the machine shop, but we've had a lot of good times in this place, and can't wait to make new memories at the new place. There it is, guys, the U-Haul Squid. No, seriously, this is gonna be a pain in the... Anybody want to help us move so we can get this quick?
Oh, damn, no. Yeah, ride it, go.
Episode 3. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget, we got 2 more episodes left. We're thinking about doing a screening in LA for the 5th episode. You guys drop a comment, let us know if you would like something like that. Also, please continue to like, subscribe. Thank you for supporting us and watching all this and letting me tell you guys my story. So see you on episode 4. Thank you.